The metaverse is undoubtedly one of the most controversial things in tech, but now Bill Gates has disclosed that the metaverse might happen a lot sooner than we think. In a recent post published on his personal website, Bill Gates said, "I predict most virtual meetings will move from 2D camera image grids, which I call the Hollywood Squares model, to the metaverse, a 3D space with digital avatars." He believes that most workers will have their virtual meetings within the metaverse in the next 2 or 3 years. He noted that the COVID-19 pandemic has already revolutionized the workplace, with most companies now offering flexibility for employees who want to work remotely. Gates wrote that those changes will only intensify in the years to come, and remote working will pull more and more people into the metaverse. There's still some work to do, but we're approaching a threshold where the technology begins to truly replicate the experience of being together in the office, said Bill. He believes that working in the metaverse will be a significant step up from what we currently get with most video conferencing platforms like Zoom or Microsoft Teams. In the metaverse, you would have a 3D avatar that would be able to attend meetings in a virtual office space or another destination where it could interact with your coworkers' avatars. If you think that Zuckerberg's metaverse is the only virtual space that'll be available to you, you'd be wrong. According to Bill Gates, Microsoft is working on adding 3D avatars and other metaverse-friendly elements to its Teams workplace software. Teams might even have a clear path to the metaverse now that Microsoft is teaming up with the Zuck to make Meta's workplace features for businesses compatible with Teams. But Bill also pointed out that it will take time and willingness from users and their employers before a virtual workplace in the metaverse becomes reality. First, it's worth noting that tech companies like Meta are still developing the virtual worlds that will make up the metaverse. Bill admitted that in order to accurately capture your expressions, body language, and the quality of your voice, people will need expensive tech devices like VR headsets and even motion capture gloves. The Microsoft co-founder said, "There's still some work to do, but it won't be long before the metaverse is making remote work feel a little less remote." Just like Bill Gates, Zuckerberg is cautiously optimistic about the future of the metaverse. The Meta CEO predicts that key components of the metaverse will become mainstream in the next 5 to 10 years. Earlier this year, Meta introduced Horizon Workrooms, a VR app where people can congregate in virtual workspaces. As more and more companies try to jump into the metaverse early, the major players are slowly starting to stake their claim at the top. Microsoft is now using holograms and creating mixed and extended reality applications. The American tech giant also owns Minecraft, a kid-friendly video game that has morphed into its own virtual universe. Another platform that kids can't seem to get enough of, Roblox, has partnered with several brands, including Ralph Lauren, Vans, and Gucci, to bring unique experiences to the metaverse. Many people think that Microsoft seems to have understood the concept of the metaverse better than Meta, which is pretty ironic. Case in point, all you need to use Mesh, Microsoft's gateway to the metaverse, is your current smartphone or laptop. No clunky headsets or expensive setups are needed, as is the case with Meta. Judging by its approach, Microsoft is keeping its focus on available capabilities and enterprise applications over Meta's vision of total lifestyle adoption. Currently, Microsoft Teams has over 145 million daily active users, whereas the total number of installed VR headsets is less than 17 million. From these numbers, Mesh for Microsoft Teams has a possible user base of more than 8 times the number of users Meta could hope to reach with its VR headsets. And then there's the issue of privacy, which Meta, in its Facebook days, was notoriously known for. Whistleblower Frances Haugen released internal documents that outlined Facebook's inconsistent application of moderation policies, accusing the company of prioritizing growth over safety. Meta has assured its users of its commitment to data privacy in the metaverse, saying that it will minimize the amount of data collected, build tech to enable privacy-protective data uses, and give people transparency and control over their data. But unfortunately, that may not be enough to reassure most future users. On the flip side, Microsoft is actually a market leader in data privacy. According to Global Data's social media thematic scorecard, Microsoft comes in at second place when ranked by the 10 themes that matter the most to the social media industry. Meta is ranked 21st overall out of 35 companies, and its activities with regard to data privacy could be damaging to its future performance. If you're still not convinced that Microsoft could take over the metaverse, you probably haven't heard of the Xbox Museum. Tons of memories have been formed around Microsoft's Xbox gaming platform, and now the company has come up with an ingenious idea of reminding players of these moments. Xbox owners can now wander a virtual space that displays a museum of highlights, an Xbox metaverse, if you will, will. These include significant dates, such as when particular consoles launched, and generation-defining mistakes, such as the infamous Red Ring of Death. You can also see the avatars of other Xbox owners browsing exhibits, which amps up the feeling that you're in a metaverse. The biggest highlight to most players, however, was the personal Xbox Museum, which shows a list of individual highlights. These include players' most played game every year, their first game played on each console, their first achievement, number of hours and games played, and so on. But who will the early adopters be? Businesses or consumers? With the PC, businesses found use cases that added value and bought PCs well before consumers found uses for expensive computers at home. The opposite was true for the smartphone, with consumers buying Apple iPhones personally and effectively forcing enterprises to make the software they needed work on them. To this point, VR has been dominated by consumers, with Meta's Oculus brand gearing towards consumers from both an operational and pricing perspective. As we'd mentioned earlier, that has led to millions of devices sold, so it's hard to argue with that strategy at the moment. On the other hand, Microsoft has geared its VR and AR strategy to business use cases like engineering and construction, with a higher price point to match. These are high-value use cases for immersive technologies that are already helping build out the high end of the industry, but they're lower volume than consumer VR today. Microsoft isn't new to the virtual and augmented hardware business either. It makes the HoloLens, a leading AR headset, while providing technology to third-party manufacturers for its VR technology, which is known as mixed reality. Microsoft isn't currently a big player in VR hardware, but it could easily acquire a company like HTC and Pico and almost instantly have the hardware to compete with Meta in the enterprise market, or lean on third-party manufacturers to get hardware to the market while focusing on software. But the antics don't stop with the metaverse. Microsoft is apparently going all in on the neo economy. The tech giant's venture arm is leading a $27 million bet on an NFT studio called Palm. According to CoinDesk, the funding will be used primarily to scale the company's operations with a slew of new hires. Palm works with companies and brands to help them create NFT projects using Ethereum on the back end. It's exactly the type of blockchain service that Microsoft and its M12 venture fund see potential in on an enterprise level. In an interview with CoinDesk, M12 managing director Matt Goldstein said, "We're focused on early-stage B2B. When we look at Palm's pipeline, it's all media brands, art brands, and content brands. And those are the relationships that we think are in the best position to help and support the relationship with Microsoft." Griffin Gaming Partners, RRE, Third King Venture Capital, Spermian, Investment Decentralized Autonomous Organization, DAO, the LAO, and Warner Brothers also participated in the funding round. Palm has already collaborated with some big names, including the Space Jam 2 NFT collection and an NFT project with DC Comics for its DC Fandom 2021 event. It will be interesting to see how Microsoft navigates these new waters of the metaverse and NFTs. And after diving into the deep end on all fronts, this is now a sink or swim situation for Microsoft. And we can't wait to see how it turns out. Until next time, keep balling.